we're going to make mango and ginger hot sauce. So I'll just read these out the ingredients first. This is from most to least. So tomatoes are right at the top here because we've got the most amount of them. So we've got tomatoes, apple, ginger, chilli, peppers, vinegar, sugar, salt, cinnamon, garlic, coriander, turmeric, cumin, lemongrass, mango, paprika. We've got another few things down here that we'll talk about in a wee bit. So if I bring you over, I have some onions, shallots and red peppers that I'm frying off just to release some of the sugars, nice and sweet. Here I've got all my spices. I forgot to mention there's also these wee things here are the inside of cardamom pods. So they're used in quite a lot of Indian cooking. So yeah, we have sugar, tomatoes and apples. These are apples from our garden. So they've gone a wee bit brown, but that's no problem. You won't see it in the finished sauce. Various different types of chilies. I've got bird's eye chilies and is it Pedro chilies? I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it, but they're quite hot anyway, so it will be really spicy. Frying this off. Some of the other ingredients that I have are vinegar, which is quite important. The salts, sugars, vinegars won't just season and give the sauce taste, but they'll also help to preserve what's actually in it. This is a really good recipe for kind of getting rid of stuff in your kitchen fridge. So here I have this Hayanese, which is basically lemongrass and minced ginger. It's really quite close to minced ginger that you would get in jars. And as you can see, you know, it's half full. It's kind of past its best, so it's a good way of using that. Here as well, some of you may have this lying in your cupboards. It's the mango chutney, quite a famous brand there. I'm sure you have all saw it. But again, you know, it's lying around here, so I thought I didn't have any fresh mango, I'll use this. These also have things like acidity regulators in them and preservatives, which will help to preserve this a wee bit further. You see, you can smell it as well.
Smells lovely.
It smells quite nice. I'll introduce you to Mariam. She's our newest volunteer here. Just met her about an hour ago maybe. And she's helped me already, which is great. So I'm going to add in the spice here. So I've got turmeric, black pepper, garlic, cumin, cardamom. So this would be called, some people call it waking up the spices. Just means to put them on a wee bit of heat and kind of get everything activated, get it all working. It should look quite dry at the moment. Might be worth mentioning as well, you don't have to do this step, but I find that when you're using powdered spice, it's important to do this, because if you don't, sometimes it can be a wee bit powdery. That going to make you sneeze a wee bit?
Nearly, that's what I'm doing.
But no, absolutely. I mean, this is the sort of thing you could just put in a pot and kind of go if you so wished. That's just a wee bit of vinegar, just getting everything at the bottom. It is rather strong, this. So, in order, what I would probably do is maybe add the tomatoes and the apples. This is looking quite dry, but your tomatoes will release quite a lot of liquid. Then I would add in the gingers and chilies and sugar. I'll add the other preservatives in last. So if Mariam could maybe look after this for me, and I'll show you chopping this. So this is just a wee bit about knife skills, just a wee refresh, or maybe new if you haven't watched this before. my plan is to have that cooking, use an immersion blender to blitz it, and I'll leave everything here a wee bit chunky. It can go through right at the end and it'll give it texture. So, chilies. Take the top off. Half. One finger in front, two behind, thumb at the back, pinky at the back, and you're moving that knife away from yourself, trying to use as much of this part of the blade. And just moving that knife away from yourself, like that. And I'm going to be leaving it quite chunky.
Jess is here, said oh saucy.
Oh hello Jess.
Hi.
So, as I said a few times before, if you have saw any of my videos before, the hottest part of a chili, apart from the seeds, is this white pith kind of area. So, keep that in mind if you don't like things particularly spicy. What you can do is use a spoon, and it just helps to take out all of that really hot stuff, which you can discard or use for something else. I'm going to leave it in though, because I quite like spice. I have some chilies. Here we have ginger. I'll mention as well that I chopped everything quite small, then I've put it on to cook. I'm going to be using an immersion blender. I've cut it as small as I did just to, so as the blender doesn't need to do as much work, but you could chop this pretty rough and put it through a food processor and then cook it. It's really a matter of preference, but so this is a ginger. I'm going to chop it quite small. Stack that up a wee bit, cut across this way, and across this way.
So how long does it take to make your hot sauce?
How long does it take? It really depends. I mean, you could cook it in as little as 20 minutes, but I'd say that the longer you cook it, you know, the more you'll kind of infuse the flavours, the better it will taste. The longer it will sit in the jar as well will change the taste. A lot of people think that when your hot sauce has just been made, it could taste a wee bit immature. But yeah, I mean, half an hour kind of maybe cook time.
Yeah.
Maybe just 20 minutes at the very least, but it's all really in the prep. That's how the prep part isn't really involved in the video, because you would have been here for at least an hour watching me chop all these vegetables for it. So onion, and I'm going to leave it quite chunky, because again this is all the texture that's going to be through the sauce at the end. So I'm just taking the top off, half it down the middle, this way it's easy to skin. I'm just going to discard that over there. So now I have my onion like this. You can either use the bridge method, where you've got your first finger and your thumb, or you can use that claw again with the knife resting against this knuckle. You can see with the onion, nature's got this nice little way of showing you where to cut the lines. You can see that lines down the onion, so I'm going to go for quite chunky, you know, something like that. You see that, it's not too fine. We have some nice sweet orange tomatoes, which are quite nice, and just again for a bit of colour change and contrast, I'd just been cutting them in half and then kind of like that. So, apple from the garden.
Do you just add anything you want into a hot sauce? Is that something you can just...
You can, I mean, it depends how kind of unusual you want to go. The one thing I'd say that you can add anything you want to a hot sauce, but what you need to be aware of is the length of time that it's on and what burns. So
Right.
when I say that, like, you know, I've got coriander in here and I've chosen to use powdered coriander. I've got a lot of fresh coriander outside, but that's quite a soft herb, so I feel as if I was to put fresh coriander in this and leave it on for half an hour, I'd want to be putting it in right at the end, because if it was in at the start it would burn.
Right.
So just be aware of the ingredients, you know, how hard they are, like how well do they hold up to the heat.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'd go and say you can put anything in a hot sauce really. I'll just do this last wee bit of apple, and then we'll go over to Mariam and see how
How's it going?
it's
Good?
getting on.
Good stuff.
Yeah, okay. So we can get these tomatoes, apple. You can really smell the cardamom. Lovely. Maybe just a wee tad of water.
Looks lovely.
Almost forgot.
Oh,
Got an interesting ingredient here. We'll get these beans from the garden that Adrian gave us. So
well, I've seen him walking over actually.
I've never put beans in a hot sauce, so we'll see what it's like. So this here, the way that I've made it, it kind of multi-purpose, and that's the idea of it. You know, it could be a dipping sauce. It could be, if you combine it with some tin tomatoes, maybe some extra garlic, coconut milk, you've got a kind of chicken tikka type idea. You could add it to minced kidney beans and extra tomatoes. You could have yourself a chilli. You know, there's all different kind of things. So I've never put these in a hot sauce, so I'm going to go with leaving them a bit chunky.
Huge, isn't it?
They're really, really big. I don't think you'd get them like these at the shops. Huge, look at the size of them. Massive. Absolutely massive. So Jack and the Beanstalk. Yeah, so it depends how concentrated you make this. This is another thing, so it's really down to your taste. One of the hot sauces I done came out, I was originally going to do a hot sauce and it came out a wee bit salty, so what I went ahead and done is I'm going to call that a marinade. So don't ever think that, you know, if something doesn't work out at home, there's a use for it, is really what I'm saying. Doesn't need to be thrown away. As long as you don't burn it, that's. So, that's that. Vinegar.
I see that was over there.
Wow.
Very colourful, yeah?
Very cool. So this is where it's going to get really hot. You can actually see just the amount of chilies that I've used there. I've left all
My
the
goodness.
seeds in. Yeah, it's going to be hot.
It's a really chilly sauce.
Yeah, but again, you know, if it is really, really hot, and if it happens to be really hot, really concentrated in flavour, you just don't use as much. You can use it more like a preserve as opposed to using it like a dipping sauce. So, and remember I had a bit of a disaster with this last time, so
Was that going to pop? Stand back. I know. Camera moving
That's
as well.
alright, slow and steady wins the race for this one, guys.
Oh.
So we've kind of added it in different wee sections and taken care to, you know, cook off the spices and stuff, but as I said before, it could be all done in the one pot. And you can make it as hot or as mild as you like. I think one thing when I started doing this that I didn't really know about, that I thought was quite interesting, is the amount of fruit that you'll find in stuff like this. It's not, I would have never guessed. So we've got mango and apples is the only kind of fruit that we have today, but I mean, I've added, you know, mango, apple, pineapple. What other fruits I've added? I've added one of the last hot sauces done had nectarines, peaches, had all kinds of fruit. So
Is that how you make a chutney? More fruits? No.
yeah,
Aye.
yeah. Chutneys are heavier on the fruit and less heavy on the spice, I would say.
Right.
And I think chutneys as well, I find depending on where you go, you know, you can get really salty ones, you can get really sweet ones.
Mhm.
So it all depends. It's always quite exciting as well because you don't really know what colour it is going to be until you
Alright.
blend it. So.
What colour are we saying it's going to be? I'm going for red. Ish.
I'm going to go for a dark orange.
What colour are we thinking it's going to be?
You know, it's going to be like
Hard to judge.
it's like dark yellow, dark orange, something
Yeah.
like that.
What just been the name colours?
Come up green or something like that. Yeah, so that's that DNA stuff. It's effectively lemongrass and garlic.
And it's chili too.
So, and that. That smells great.
What's this it's going in there?
So this is just a mango chutney.
Right.
So thinking is, you know, a lot of people watching might have stuff like this lying around. Maybe you're bored and maybe you want to use it. Maybe it's these type of things tend to be, you know, they're past their date, but they're completely fine. Obviously, I don't advocate anybody eating something past its date, but with the amount of sugar in this type of stuff, it lasts a very long time. So the last two that I've done have came out really, really good, so hopefully this does as well.
Spicy, spicy.
Spicy.
Do you like spice? Yeah.
African.
Oh, here you go.
He's supposed to live in Africa because he likes spicy.
I see. I like spicy food as well.
I'd really like to. Mariam's hopefully going to show me something about African cooking,
Yeah.
Fab.
which I cannot wait for. It's amazing. We were actually talking about it as well in this country. A lot of what we focus on is kind of Chinese or Indian,
Yeah.
not so much other cultures, which I'm all about learning about. So.
Interesting.
Alright.
Yeah, I found out here. It's a basic of you guys' food based on Chinese and Indian.
Yeah,
Everywhere I've gone,
it is.
I explained to him. I told him there's many things out there.
Yep.
They say, okay, the Mediterranean, very tasty.
Mhm.
I mean, try to explain.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people find
Because
stuff
you
that they
guys
like.
have a lot of Chinese and a lot of Indians, and most of them are in the food industry
Yep.
more than others.
Yeah,
And you guys like takeaway.
yeah, I know that's it.
Chinese
I know.
takeaway.
Weekends, it's easy peasy.
And wash these things off. Right?
So one thing about this type of cooking, it's hard to tell what it's going to taste like because you know, it's going to taste different once it's been in the jar a month. It's going to taste different when it's fresh. Taste different when it's been in 3 months. As a general rule, when you cook spice for long periods of time, or when it's allowed to infuse for long periods of time, it usually enhances the sweetness. So just keep that in mind. If you're using a lot of really sweet ingredients, you know, your spice will increase the sweetness of that.
Just going last.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And quite often these things, when they're hot, you know, when they're like to a hot temperature, they're even spicier. So it'll probably blow heat off as well when you try it. But it won't be that hot when it's laid in the jar and it's chilled.
It smells like a sweet chilli sauce, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it smells like. Sweet chilli sauce.
That could do it then. Call it. Where's my blender bits? Where's my blender bits?
Right, on to blending.
So for this live, guys, I'm blending this a lot quicker than I would have. I would usually leave it on a good bit longer, but just for the sake of kind of showing you, put it on at a higher heat. Cheers, so. So today I used fresh tomatoes because that's what I had and that's what was kind of going out first. We all understand that with lockdown kind of easing with the packs that people are getting, the isolation packs, I think everybody can agree we've got an abundance of tinned tomatoes. So this can be a really good way of using them. You know, don't go out in the shops and buy fresh if you've got tinned. And I do plan on making more videos that specifically take to do with the food that we can't get rid of. So tinned tomatoes, you know, sauces.
Stuff in your cupboards. Just lie.
Aye.
So say you never had a blender, could you cook it right down? Would it take longer?
It would take a lot longer, so that's a really good question actually. If you don't have a blender, you could cook it right down, use a potato masher.
Right.
You could take care to cut it really small in the first instance, but you know, yeah, if you don't have a blender, you're not going to get it down to like a kind of liquid or a paste.
Yep.
But that's okay, it can be chunky. You know,
Yep.
So I'll let this come up to boil.
Lovely.
And then I'll give it a taste.
Well, you were right, it's an orangey colour.
Orange, yeah.
Sussed it. Looks lovely.
Chili.
Good.
Sweet and spicy.
Well, that's good.
Not as spicy as you would think.
No.
Still very... It could use more cooking and
Thoughts?
it'll be different, you know, once it's cooked, but...
I call this sweet chili.
Oh, see? I was
Aye,
right.
so-
I was
so
right.
good, right? I'll try a wee bit on a cracker. Yeah, definitely. Though I think we can get away with calling that a sweet chilli sauce.
Yeah.
Good though.
Mhm.
Good stuff.
Nice,
You
quick.
you can serve this on top of carpaccio
Oh,
of salmon
all right, okay.
or carpaccio of saltfish
Yep.
as a entree.
Ah,
Put it on the top so that you put it like 15 minutes before so that it will be cooked with this, with the sugar and the acid.
Ah, right, lovely. Here we go. Another wee.
Yeah. So there we go. We can use it in fish dishes. I've got some chicken in the fridge that's defrosted as well. I'm probably going to use this to cook some chicken in. We can use it as a dipping sauce. I'd say that this one worked out quite well in the sense that it's not too strong.
It's not very chilly as we
That's good.
cook with it, yeah.
So it's quite multi-purpose, but ginger as well. The cardamon's really came through a lot. So
Chinese
That's
will
good.
love this.
oh yeah,
They
definitely.
will love it because it's like a tinkle of their taste.
Ah, right.
I think I had 4 out of the 5 ingredients in the Chinese Five
Yeah.
Guys. So, which I'm beginning to wonder if it's actually it's kind of in me. I just
Yeah, but, I've tasted many Chinese food, many Chinese sauce, and many Indian sauce. This it has in both like Chinese and Indian. It's spicy and it's sweet like the way Chinese people
Yeah.
like, but definitely it's better. That's
Aye.
what I have to say.
Here we go.
Thank you.
Here we go. Thumbs up.
Well, so please leave comments and questions. We can try and get back to you. And if there's anything that you would want to see, anything in particular, any particular topics or videos that you'd like us to cover, so please let us know.
Righty. See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.